Hello, I am Olga Strashun. Thank you for attending my lecture on subtle energy. I am going to start with a little about my story and how I came to be doing this work in subtle energy. I began my career in traditional medicine as a physician. By the age of 35, I was a medical doctor of internal medicine with 10 years of experience, working at the emergency ward of a hospital in Leningrad. I loved what I was doing, but this was still not enough for me to truly help the chronically ill patients. I started looking for a system that would help me improve the lives of these patients and help me become better in diagnostics. Because in 10 years working in two hospitals, neither one of them had the ultrasound equipment, never mind the MRI. Eventually, I decided to add acupuncture to my set of skills and got into the College of Acupuncture for Medical Doctor. Around this time, a friend told me to visit the subtle energy laboratory. I never heard about this type of energy, but was told this could help me with my diagnostic skills. I was intrigued, to say the least, and went there. It was a multidisciplinary research place founded in 1983 by the USSR Ministry of Space, where they were studying how and where to use subtle energy. The head of this research lab was Vadim Polyakov, who had a PhD in physics. Vadim Polyakov was giving weekly 3-hour seminars dedicated to meditations to increase extrasensory perception and abilities to concentrate, as well as helping to develop his method of using holographic images of organs to evaluate health even when one could not see or talk to the patient in person. To do this, we were asked to check an image of somebody's organ by hanging it in the air in front of us and evaluating what we felt with our hand. Of course, I became very engaged, and during my shifts, I started to experiment with vibrations of organs, but very quietly, so I didn't raise questions about my sanity. Whenever I had the chance, I would practice. Only after that would I come to a patient and go through my routine and compare my findings. In just a few weeks, it became clear to me that the unimaginable was real. The evaluation of a patient's health could be done from a distance without talking or even meeting them. Everything that I learned at school and saw with my own eyes turned out to be just a fraction of reality. It was mesmerizing. When the time came for us to immigrate to Canada, I knew for sure that I didn't want to be a medical doctor anymore, because I had to go deeper into the subject of subtle energy. During my first 3 years of developing my own wellness counseling practice in Toronto, because there was no research on subtle energy and still doesn't exist, I was experimenting with ways to heal people and bring them to a state of balance, as well as collecting data on what different vibrations meant. However, I started to feel the need to have an organized picture of subtle energy for myself and to be able to explain my conclusions to my clients. When I started to look for explanation for what I was sensing, the first book I read was The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. It just came out in 1993. This directed me to the ideas of David Bohm, a quantum physicist and philosopher who dedicated his life to explaining how the universe works and our place in it. What I learned from Bohm helped to organize my mind and crystallize my ideas. I started to apply the laws of quantum physics to what I was experiencing with the vibrational world of subtle energy, and it turned out that they were very compatible. I am not a physicist, and not a scientist. I have always been a practitioner. Therefore, what I am going to share with you a practical system with an organized view of how this type of energy is different from anything we learned at school, and illustrate how this new knowledge can be applied in our lives, enhancing and guiding us. This system helps shift our minds into the realm of vibrational world. This system is a compilation of what was already known about this mesmerizing subject, combined with my own observations and experimentation. To start, we will look at the main principle of this type of energy and how it is different from anything else we studied at school. Principle number 1. On the deepest level of reality, we are all made from the same matter and interconnected. For thousands of years, mystics, philosophers, and recently scientists have been searching for the existence of some kind of power that has properties of the beginning of the beginning. It has been called various names, such as God, prana, chi, bioenergy, subtle energy, field of information, unified energy, among many others. David Bohm came the closest to explaining what this power is and how it works. His brilliant ideas are now being discussed and filmed, and more people are learning about them. He worked on the idea of the existence of a field which functions on the subatomic level and penetrates the whole space. Bohm called it the quantum potential field. Bohm looked at reality as if it consists of two levels. The first level, which he called explicit order, is the world in which we function and where everything appears to be separately existing. The other, deeper level, he called enfolded order or implicate order, the level of subatomic reality where the field of quantum potential functions. To make it easy to understand how these two levels interact and to illustrate why the apparent separateness is an illusion, Bohm used the metaphor of the mighty river with many different features on its flow. In spite of the different behaviors of the water, it is still the same river. Similarly, the field of quantum potential also organizes all different levels of existence, making everything from us human being to a flower. It is a foundation from which everything is made. Another theory we can use to understand the better this deep level is a string theory. String theory says that the foundation for everything in the universe is made from the different varieties of vibrations and patterns of vibrating strings of energy, giving birth to different particles. So the strings of energy that are the blueprints for subatomic particles are the domain of the vibrational world of subtle energy. This is where subtle energy is. When we start to become aware of the invisible world of subtle energy and have our direct experience of this world, with time, the idea that we're part of an undivided whole and that everything is interconnected becomes the cornerstone of how we start to see and experience the world. This knowledge that everything is interconnected has a lot of practical applications right away. There is always an interaction on the energy level between things, both animate and inanimate, and we can train ourselves to detect and analyze these interactions to our great benefit. We can choose what to eat that will be the most beneficial to our health. We can sort out which medications and supplements that we are taking are interconnected and can be taken together, and which are not and shouldn't be taken, should be taken absolutely separately to avoid many problems in the future. We can analyze the quality of connections between people in families and work environments and see where there are obstacles and how we can improve situations and much more. Principle number 2. The subtle energy field is neither electromagnetic nor gravitational in nature. In Russia, a great deal of research has been devoted to prove the existence of subtle energy field and how it is distinct from electromagnetic and gravitational fields. The goal of this research has been to demonstrate that no physical barriers can interrupt the flow of subtle energy and that distance doesn't impede on its action or impact. The contrast with electromagnetic energy, which can be blocked by specific materials such as lead or concrete, and with which distance interferes. Although today's technology cannot register, produce, or measure subtle energy, its existence can be proved through experiments. If we create an environment in which every type of field is blocked from having a desired effect, and yet that effect is achieved, we must logically concede that some kind of force is at work. During my time at the laboratory, I was aware of telephone calls from the Ministry of Space requesting Dr. Polyakov's help to improve the physical conditions of cosmonauts who were not feeling well during the space shuttle mission. He was able to stabilize blood pressure, help with headaches, and treat back problems as if they had been in the same room with him and not in outer space. The results of his distance healing sessions formed the foundation for me understanding of the uniqueness of this type of energy. I continue to do similar things in Toronto. Sometimes people ask me to evaluate their health by calling from the other side of the globe because distance is not an obstacle. What we normally would never even dare to think about becomes possible with knowledge of the principles of subtle energy, which brings us to principle number 3. Principle number 3. Subtle energy carries information. Our thoughts are the purest form of subtle energy. Thoughts are a force affecting matter. We'll start from the first statement. Subtle energy carries information. What kind of information are we talking about here? The information we receive from subtle energy always have some physical impact and an emotional color to us that we can learn to interpret. Just to give you an example of what kind of information I'm talking about, besides the condition of the organs that I've already mentioned to you, my teacher was involved in an experiment at the Hermitage, where he and a group of experts, art experts, had to determine the date when certain art objects were done, like carbon dating. But he was using his own instrument, which was his own mind. The group of art experts used their professional criteria, whereas Polyakov used the information encoded in the object's vibrations. Shockingly, the results were identical. Now we come to the second statement of Principle 3. Our thoughts are the purest form of subtle energy. The solid foundation for Newtonian physics is that if we know exactly what is involved in any process, we can predict what will occur in the end. It will always be the same outcome if the process is the same. In quantum physics, however, this postulate does not exist. It is said that in each experiment there is a certain percentage of unpredicted results caused by the effect of the observer's mind on the world of particles. because everything is made from these particles, we can generalize this statement and suggest that the human mind has the ability to affect the material world. I participated in the experiment where my teacher was playing a computer game for over 5 hours. During the first 2.5 hours, the electroencephalograms were taken from us while he was playing. And I got a bizarre task to make one person from two of us. I imagine us being in the same bubble with the tubes connecting our chakras. In these tubes, the energy from me and him was mixing, and I was sending this mixture back to him and to me. The process was repeated with each pair of chakras and kept in action during the whole 2.5 hours. After 15 minutes of the visualization, our electroencephalograms became identical and differently looking from the originals. Periodically during the 2.5 hours, they were swinging back and forth a few times from the original ones to become identical again while I was continuing with my task. It was an exciting discovery for me that just using a mental program, we can change the electroencephalogram. What else can we do with our thoughts? If we follow the definition of energy as a capacity for work and as the ability to exert a force, we can definitely say that our thoughts are a pure form of energy. This leads us to the third statement of principle number 3. Thoughts are a force affecting matter. Both our thinking process and our thoughts are incredibly misunderstood by our culture. We do not doubt that thoughts, when applied, can produce a gigantic effect on outward events. They can cause the rise and decline of civilizations, create war, peace, technological progress, and ecological disasters. The effect that thoughts have on our personal lives are, however, totally underestimated. In our culture, young people are rarely taught to be careful with their thoughts or how to discipline their thinking. And as a result, by the time we are adults, we let our thoughts do whatever they want, unaware that we are the producers of the force that is constantly interacting with and affecting the world within us and around us. After leaving Russia and before coming to Canada, we had to process our immigration papers in Italy. We had no documents and very little money, so real medical help was out of the question for most of us. At this time, one of our friends badly injured his knee and came to me. During my life in Russia, I never did any treatment with energy. I was in research, I was a medical doctor, but I recalled the words of my teacher that there are no rules in dealing in healing with energy, except that you have to have the proper state of mind. I asked my friend to show me his injury, so he pulled down his jeans and I started doing passes with my hands without touching from his very swollen knee on down, imagining that I was removing inflammation and water out of his knee. I spent probably 30 minutes doing that. The next day, when he came, I saw a very intriguing picture. His knee was absolutely fine, but he had a very swollen ankle and foot. I started to laugh because I realized that his genes had interfered with my treatment. They had blocked the path of my hands. I didn't fully eliminate the negative vibrations out of his leg, and they got caught by his genes like a waste basket around his ankle. The second time I did it with more precision and everything was fine. This experience, together with the results from experiments with which I was involved in Russia, taught me that thoughts create reality and are very powerful. Our thoughts carry information that works like a powerful mental program, capable of affecting the way things happen. Once we realize this, the necessity of taking control over what and how we think becomes the goal. Principle number 4. If everything in the world vibrates, the quality of the vibrations is important information. According to string theory, each subatomic particle has its own blueprint composed of differently shaped and differently vibrating strings of energy. Again, we can suggest that this statement can be applied to the whole world. Everything vibrates. Cells, organs, our thoughts, emotions, plants, works of art, parts of the car, water in a bottle, etc. Absolutely everything. Like medical students learning to read a pulse, we need to develop our own system of how to receive and interpret vibrations in order to understand what they correspond to and what they mean. Vibrations always cause very subtle but clear physical sensation that with some training help us get needed answers. When we learn to do this, it will unlock an incredible source of information about many aspects of life which were previously hidden from us. Principle number 5. All animate and inanimate objects have a dual nature, a visible aspect and a vibrational aspect. All things in the world perform just as a vibrational form. In this first statement, we are dealing with an object occupying a specific space at a specific time. It has a visible aspect and another part that is invisible to most of us. The other part is of an energy dimension which exceeds and expands beyond the physical boundaries of the object. It is called an energy field or aura. A possible explanation for the field's invisibility has been given by Brian Greene, the author of The Fabric of the Cosmos. Greene has suggested that whatever we use to detect things, be it our eyes, an electronic microscope or telescope, is based on electromagnetic force. Yet, in principle, too, we said that subtle energy is not of that nature, and this is why this type of energy cannot be registered by modern technology or even our own eyes without special training. As human beings, we have quite a few tools with us to detect subtle energy vibrations, and we can train ourselves to feel or see this energy. The energy field around a person, objects, is like a shield. The larger the shield, the better. A large field around animate objects speaks about strength, health, and vitality. A large field around inanimate objects indicates superior quality. The ability to identify the size of an energy field around an object has enormous practical applications. For example, it enables us to choose the best quality piece of cheese, the healthiest plant, the best pet to adopt, the best used car to buy. The possibilities are absolutely endless. Another statement from the principle is, all things in the world perform as just a vibrational form. We know from quantum physics that every particle could perform as a particle or as a wave. Every object produces vibrations that go into the energy field, but at the same time, the vibrations forming the energy field also have a life of their own that is not attached to the object. they go somewhere. Because of the nature of energy they represent, they are everywhere and stay forever there, even when the physical form is no longer around. Principle number 6. The universe is like a giant hologram. Everything in the world can be expressed through its vibrational form. In early 1970s, David Bohm formulated his view that the universe operates by holographic principles and is itself a gigantic hologram in which endless levels of vibrations are stored. But unlike a regular hologram plate, where the images are fixed, he postulated that out there nothing is fixed. Trying to explain how the cosmic hologram works, he came up with an analogy of a carpet, with its pile, the snippets of wool whose endpoints are attached to the carpet backing. For the cosmic holograms, holographic plate, the backing of the carpet is made of the quantum potential field and folded order, while the pile is made of vibrations forming the ornament of the carpet. Like a regular holographic plate, this one is also two-dimensional. The 3D forms do not exist in nature. So it's only the vibrational form of an object or subject of our interest that we call a hologram, and it doesn't have an electromagnetic component. It is an image that is created during our regular thinking through the interaction of our minds with the cosmic hologram. In daily life, the creation of 3D images happens all the time in our minds. When we think about something that we already had an experience with, immediately, even before finishing our inner sentence, we get a mental 3D image of the person or place that we have been thinking about. Our concentration, like a laser beam, pulls out needed vibrations and makes a holographic image that we can learn to use. We can learn to analyze it and get information about the object of our attention. Using holographic techniques to get information will give you a visual picture about what's happening with your subject of interest, as well as dynamics between it and anything in its world. Before I would like to say more about the holograms, we need to talk about two other principles. Principle number 7. Information in the form of vibrations never disappears. Past, present, and future exist in each and every point of space and time. We said that the cosmic hologram is a storehouse for vibrations. Now it's a time to discuss what is in that storehouse. We live in a world where time is composed of 3 discrete categories: past, present, and future. The past is gone, it is irretrievable and removed from us. The future is unknown and shapeless. But the reality of time is radically different from what we have created in our heads about it. We function under 2 sets of laws of nature. One is for a world of seemingly separate things where we're born and eventually will die. The other set is from the vibrational world of subtle energy. When we become aware of it and learn to blend these 2 realities, it will enhance our lives and help us to avoid many mistakes. In quantum physics, time is thought as a continuum containing all time, past, present, and future. And the cosmic hologram doesn't have special compartments for past, present, and future. All these vibrations exist together. According to Bohm, the past is not a fixed category of that which is lost. Instead, it exists in a kind of inactive state, in a form of vibration woven into the cosmic hologram. likewise the future, is not absolutely unknown. It can be analyzed, programmed, and to a certain extent chosen. There are a number of holographic scenarios already out there for us about our future. These scenarios have been created by our parents with their thoughts about our future, by our teachers at school with their accurate or inaccurate understanding of our ability, and by people close to us who have thoughts about our destinies. Of course, such scenarios are also created by our dreams from our early years. It is up to us to choose which event are going to manifest and which are not. We can leap from one holographic screenplay to another, altering our future. The more I am involved with subtle energy, the more I am fascinated by the notion of time. Not a single vibration disappears from the cosmic hologram. We should bear this in mind in the context of what and how we think. Everything depends on our mind. Principle number 8. By achieving resonance with an object vibrations, the vibrations automatically enlarge and can even be changed. Everything vibrates. We are surrounded by an ocean of vibrations, but they are so subtle and we do not normally detect them. However, being in resonance with them dramatically increases their amplitude. To come into resonance with the vibrations emanating from any source depends on our ability to concentrate, particularly when performing a special task. But it is not necessary to be an advanced yogi to do this. The ability to come into resonance with vibrations is in the very nature of our thinking. How we retrieve information from the bank of memory is based on the effect of resonance. When we start to think about anything we want to recall, we produce vibrations that, like a specific laser beam, go into resonance with the corresponding information stored in the cosmic hologram, and in no time draw out all needed information, all needed vibrations. The moment of clicking into resonance automatically increases the amplitude of the dormant stored vibrations so that they reach a level at which we are able to detect them. The stronger our involvement with what we think about, the more possible it is to achieve resonance with it. Obviously, it could be for good or ill. When we get stuck on a negative memory and are unable to cut it off, we turn inactive, dormant negative vibrations into a vital force. It is inevitable. This is how subtle energy works. They immediately start to interact with us and our vibrations of a present time. The presence or absence of resonance between any subject of our investigation can be of great help in figuring out whether things are compatible or not. The answer as to whether or not resonance is present is based on a change of the velocity of the object's vibrations. We can watch the change right before our eyes as the size of the energy field shifts around the object. And now back to holograms. Principle 9. Concentration, like a laser beam, can retrieve any waveform of any subject object of our interest and turn it into holographic image we can easily work with. After we talked about the notion of time and effect of resonance, I wanted to add a few more details about holograms. This subject is so fascinating and has endless practical applications when we start to experiment with them. As I mentioned, when we think about something, we automatically produce a 3D mental image composed of vibrations stored in the cosmic hologram. Therefore, when we need to analyze something or someone for its vibrational content, we can consciously create a hologram through our mental focus. We can do it from any stored vibrations, pulling them out of storage, giving them any size or shape for our convenience. We can reduce a cathedral to the size of a shoebox in order to work on it, or expand a shoebox to the size of cathedral holographically. We can create a hologram of something absolutely intangible, such as thoughts. We can use holograms from the past or the future as models to analyze how things were or how they might become with time. I prefer to deal with the holograms of an object or person than to work directly on the thing itself. There is fascinating property of a hologram. You do not need to know details to create a hologram. One or two pieces of information about the object, subject should be sufficient, and the rest will be built automatically. The brief summary of what we discussed in these principles. All these principles from the domain of vibrations reflect the eternal and infinite nature of subtle energy, which concerns everything in the world. I strongly believe that because we are made out of these vibrations and are part of the undivided whole picture, it is vital for us to learn about the principles of subtle energy and to start living consciously in this world. When we start to blend the world of seemingly separate things with the world of vibrations, it is inevitably going to change us. When we come to realize that everything we do or even think remains stored in the cosmic hologram forever, that everything we generate eventually comes into contact with, interacts and intersects with the lives of our other people, we will become more conscious of what we do, what we think, and how we think. Our awareness of how subtle energy works gives us a better understanding of human life and reshapes our vision of the world and our place in it. For more information on subtle energy, you can visit the Strashun Institute website at strashuninstitute.com. I thank you for taking time to watch our video and hope you enjoyed my introduction to the incredible world of subtle energy.